Japan's Prime Minister has held talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Manila as Tokyo looks to solidify alliances in the face of growing global uncertainty.
Now, the Chinese Coast Guard has seized control of a disputed reef near a major Philippine military outpost in the South China Sea.
The Philippines and Japan are further deepening defence ties in the face of a, quote, increasingly severe security environment.
They also talk security and defence, including China's growing assertiveness in both the South and East China Seas.
On April 29, 2025, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba undertook a landmark visit to the Philippines, meeting with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at Malacañang Palace. The visit came at a time of heightened geopolitical tension in the Indo-Pacific region and underscored Japan's strategic commitment to deepening its defense, economic, and diplomatic ties with the Philippines. This was more than a routine diplomatic gesture. It was a calculated move to reinforce a regional alliance built on shared democratic values and mutual security interests. In the face of China's growing assertiveness, particularly in the South China Sea and East China Sea. A central highlight of the summit was the agreement to begin negotiations on two significant security frameworks: the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement, also known as the ACSA, and a Defense Information Sharing Agreement. The ACSA would enable both nations to exchange logistical support, such as fuel, ammunition, and medical supplies, during joint exercises and disaster relief operations, thereby streamlining military cooperation. Meanwhile, the Information Sharing Pact would establish protocols for the secure exchange of military intelligence, critical for maritime situational awareness and early threat detection. These new initiatives are meant to complement the Reciprocal Access Agreement, or RAA, signed in July 2024, which allows for mutual troop deployments for training and humanitarian missions. While the RAA has already been ratified by the Philippine Senate, it is currently pending approval by Japan's National Diet, reflecting the growing political consensus in Tokyo about enhancing defense cooperation with Manila. In addition to these agreements, Japan has committed to providing 5 new 97-meter multi-role response vessels, or MRRVs, to the Philippine Coast Guard. The first ship is scheduled to arrive in late 2027. These vessels will be the largest and most technologically advanced assets in the PCG's inventory, aimed at bolstering the Philippines' maritime security capabilities. Each MRRV will be equipped with advanced surveillance and radar systems, helicopter decks, high-speed maneuverability, capable of reaching over 25 knots, and long-endurance capabilities that allow extended patrols in the West Philippine Sea and beyond. The project, funded under a Japanese Official Development Assistance, or ODA loan, reaffirms Tokyo's role as Manila's leading maritime security partner and highlights Japan's intention to play a more proactive role in regional stability. The leaders also tackled pressing economic concerns. The global trade environment has become increasingly volatile due to escalating tariff battles between the United States and China, two major trading partners for both Japan and the Philippines. Prime Minister Ishiba expressed Tokyo's intention to support Japanese businesses operating in the Philippines and to explore new avenues for bilateral trade and investment. This included potential collaboration in sectors like infrastructure development, renewable energy, digital transformation, and supply chain diversification. Both sides recognized that deeper economic integration could help insulate their economies from external shocks and reduce overdependence on any single trade partner, particularly China. But perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of this visit lies in its focus on people-to-people ties and the long-term cultural partnership between the two nations. During the bilateral meeting, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Prime Minister Ishiba shared a moment of nostalgia about the Osaka Expo held 50 years ago in 1970. Prime Minister Ishiba fondly recalled that both he and President Marcos were very young at the time, just 13 to 14 years old, and mentioned that he had been briefed that President Marcos had also visited the Expo as a child. Ishiba reminisced about his own experience, recalling how he, as a junior high school student, took the train 3 times to the Osaka Expo to marvel at the futuristic exhibits and technological displays.
いたかもしれません。
Now, on the Osaka Kansai World Exposition, it's now ongoing in Japan. President Marcos has spoken of his visit to the Expo 55 years ago. Actually, I myself and President Marcos are of the same age, and I myself visited the Osaka Expo 3 times at the time. So perhaps 2 of us may have been passing each other on those opportunities.
きっと分かんなかったんだけどね、お互い。
But of course, none of us knew who we are at the time, of course.
The thought sparked an amusing realization. Somewhere among the crowds of millions, 2 young boys, one from Japan, the other from the Philippines, may have unknowingly crossed paths amid the excitement of a world fair. No cameras, no entourage, just 2 curious kids marveling at the future. And now, 5 decades later, those same boys have grown into 2 of the highest representatives of their nations, sitting across from each other as Prime Minister and President. The story felt almost surreal, a quiet, heartfelt reminder of how the seeds of destiny can sprout from the most ordinary moments. Prime Minister Ishiba followed up this nostalgic reflection by inviting President Marcos to visit the ongoing Expo 2025 in Osaka, which Japan is currently hosting. He highlighted the popularity of the Philippine Pavilion, which he described as a beacon of creativity and cultural pride. He emphasized how such global platforms not only promote innovation, but also deepen cultural exchange and friendship among nations. President Marcos, in turn, congratulated Japan on the successful opening of Expo 2025 and expressed pride in the Philippine Pavilion's theme, which centers on nature, heritage, and community. He noted that these global events are symbolic of the evolving identity of nations, and that Japan and the Philippines have consistently shared stages like these with mutual admiration and respect. This warm exchange served as a reminder that while policy and defense may dominate headlines, the soul of a bilateral relationship is often found in shared memories, cultural ties, and personal stories. Both leaders signaled their intent to usher in a golden age of Japan-Philippines relations, an era defined not only by security cooperation and economic resilience, but also by rich cultural interchange, youth engagement, and soft diplomacy. Japan has committed to expanding language and cultural programs, exchange scholarships, and support for Filipino students and professionals seeking opportunities in Japan. In return, the Philippines continues to open its arms to Japanese tourists, investors, and cultural institutions, reinforcing grassroots diplomacy and building bonds for generations to come. Perhaps most significantly, the joint statement released after the meeting emphasized the shared commitment of both countries to uphold a free, open, and rules-based Indo-Pacific region. the two leaders directly opposed any attempt to change the regional status quo by force or coercion, a clear reference to China's aggressive activities in disputed maritime zones. This public alignment signaled a maturing strategic partnership, where both nations are no longer passive observers of regional developments, but active shapers of the Indo-Pacific's future. In essence, Prime Minister Ishiba's visit to the Philippines represented a decisive turn in bilateral relations, from friendly cooperation to strategic alignment, from historical reconciliation to forward-looking partnership. It reflected Japan's recalibration of its foreign policy under evolving security threats, and the Philippines' growing role as a key player in the Indo-Pacific power dynamic. As both countries deepen cooperation across military, economic, and cultural dimensions, the April 2025 visit may well be remembered as the dawn of a golden age in Japan-Philippines relations, a period defined not by convenience, but by commitment, solidarity, and a shared vision for peace, prosperity, and enduring friendship. And with shared memories stretching back to the Osaka Expo and bold plans now charted for the seas and skies, one can only wonder, what will the next 50 years bring for the Japan-Philippines partnership? Comment down below and see you in the next video.